Displaying and describing categorical data. When a sample consists of categorical data, the information can be summarized by creating a table, frequency table, a relative frequency table, or a percentage table, or creating an appropriate graph. The two graphs we will discuss are the pie chart and the bar chart. For a pie chart, categories are distinct, which means they can't overlap, and there are just a small number of categories, typically no more than about 5 categories. Each category is like a slice of pie, and the size of the slice is related to how many observations occur for the category. Larger slices correspond with more commonly occurring categories. For a bar chart, categories are represented by equal width rectangles. As before, with pie charts, categories are distinct. There's space between each of the bars, but the height of the bar is related to the number of observations in the category. Taller bars represent more common responses for a category. Unlike pie charts, bar charts can have more than 5 categories. The area principle indicates that the area should correspond to how common the outcome is in a graphical display. As such, outcomes which are going to occur more often should have more area in the figure. This corresponds to pie slices and bar heights in the two charts mentioned before. Often the first few steps involve defining the different categories and then counting the number of outcomes in each of those categories. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine observing the gender of students in a class. The data might look like the list below. For the first column, you have male, female, 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 followed by female, male, female, female, and so on. How many total students were observed? Notice each column has 4 outcomes, and there are a total of 6 columns. So multiplying, I can tell that there are 4 times 6, or 24 students total. Next, count the number of males. Column by column, you see 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 for a total of 11. So how many males were observed? 11. Finally, count the number of females. The columns, again, have 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 for a total of 13. How many females were observed? 13. Tables and graphs can show frequency, relative frequency, or percent for each category. Frequency is just the count of observations within a given category. Relative frequency, the ratio or fraction of observations within a category to the entire sample size. Percent, relative frequency multiplied by 100 to give percent. The table below shows the categories, male and female, under the gender column, along with all 3 types of summaries. The frequencies will match the counts we have above, with 11 males and 13 females. The relative frequency column will consist of the fraction or decimal relating the frequency of the category to the total number of observations. For males, this is 11/24, or about 0.458 as a decimal. For females, the fraction is 13/24, or about 0.542 as a decimal. The percent values are just 100 multiplied by the relative frequencies. That corresponds to 45.8% for males and 54.2% for females. How might we create a picture or a graph that represents this same information? A pie chart or pie graph is just a pie or a circle where each slice of the pie corresponds to the percentage of observations in the given category. A response, which is more common in the dataset, will have a larger area in the pie chart, or a bigger slice of the pie. This is done by dividing the central angle based on percentages, but we'll use technology to obtain the graph. A bar chart or a bar graph is a graph where each category has a rectangle, basically equal width rectangles, where the height depends on the frequency, relative frequency, or percent. More common categories have taller, or if you're doing it sideways, longer bars. The bars are separated by space. Consider the data file with the genders, which is named gender205.xls. This can be used to create graphs and tables in StatCrunch. Here is the outcome, which we'll talk about how to obtain in StatCrunch for the table and the graphs. First, log into StatCrunch. Now go to your group. So remember, you can go under Explore and search for the group, or if it appears on the first page, you can just scroll down and select it. If you click the file, it'll open in StatCrunch and you're ready to create the graph or the table. To obtain the table, use the following commands. Move your cursor to select Stat, left click, go down to Tables, over to Frequency, and left click. In the window that pops up, left click Gender under the Select column. The variable gender should now appear in the right box at the top. Go down to where you see Statistics. If you left click on Frequency and hold the button down and pull the mouse or drag down to percent of total, the top three options will all be highlighted. This will match what we have in our table. Next, just click Compute. A table should now appear, this table, which matches what we calculated. To copy this table or graph, you can highlight the information in the box. So just left click the mouse and highlight all the information. And then you can push Control C. And then you can go into your word processor and hit Control V to paste. Or you can use the edit command in your word processor. And the table from here is copied into our document right here. Similarly, for graphs, we can use similar commands, except they're going to be under the graph menu. So to obtain the bar chart and pie chart, let's go back to StatCrunch. So left click Graph, go down to Bar Plot, over to With Data, and left click. In the window that pops up, left click Gender, and the variable gender should now appear in the right box. Under Type, you can use the drop down to select frequency or relative frequency or percent. We will use frequency for now. In the Graph Properties section down here where it says Title, left click in the box and type an appropriate title. So I will just type bar plot for gender of students. Next, click Compute. To copy a graph, click the Options button, left click, click Copy. Then it tells you right click the image below to copy it. So if you right click and select Copy Image, it'll copy it to your clipboard. Then you can go into your word processor, such as Word, and use the Control-Alt-V button combination to paste the image. And then you can resize it and reformat it as you like. If you ever forget, if you move the cursor around, notice at the bottom it tells you what to do. Right-click the image, select Copy, Image or Copy, paste it in Word or PowerPoint by choosing Paste Special, Control-Alt-V, and paste as Device Independent Bitmap. And that's what we did. And then I'll just click the X, and that is the bar plot that we have here. Now the pie chart, very similarly, you go into StatCrunch, go under Graph, left click, go down to Pie Chart with Data and left click. Under the Select column, select the gender variable. So if you left click, it'll copy it over to the right box. And under Display, you can choose what values to show. I'll just use the default values of count and percent of total. Then under the Graph Properties section, where it says Title, you can enter an appropriate title. So I will use Pie Chart for Gender of Students. Next, click Compute. And here's your pie chart. Notice it tells you the blue is female. There are 13, and that represents 54.17%. Males is the other category. It's in the red. That is 11 males in the sample, and that represented 45.83%. Again, if I want to copy, go to Options, Copy. I can right-click, Copy Image, and then go into Word, use Control-Alt-V, select Device Independent Bitmap, and it'll copy in, and then you can resize it. So again, what that will do is give you these types of graphs. Now I resized these so they would fit on one page, but this concludes the content that we're going over for describing categorical data.